Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to pop the hood and look at the actual architectural blueprints that make GPUs, graphics processing units, the absolute titans of AI computation. We constantly hear about AI scaling, right? But we rarely stop to look at the physical silicon making it all happen. Understanding this hardware is really the key to getting how AI can generate photorealistic art or just spit out complex code in seconds. So let's get into it. All right, let's start by looking at the sheer computational weight of AI tasks like image recognition. To get a computer from looking at raw pixels to actually identifying, say, a specific university building, that data has to filter through deeply stacked convolutional layers to extract features. Then it hits pooling and fully connected layers to summarize everything. Guys, it is just a staggering, massive amount of matrix multiplication happening all at once. To figure out why specific hardware completely dominates these heavy math tasks, our agenda today is pretty straightforward. We'll look at the hardware landscape, compare CPU and GPU architectures, check out the compute and memory hierarchy, dive into Amdahl's law, and finally, look at some real-world AI performance numbers. Starting off with Section 1, the hardware landscape. While specialized chips like TPUs, NPUs, and FPGAs are definitely out there, the biggest, most fundamental rivalry in computing right now is between the highly versatile central processing unit, or CPU, and the massively parallel graphics processing unit, the GPU. Now, this table really brilliantly lays out the trade-offs across the whole hardware spectrum. CPUs, they offer supreme versatility. They're super programmable, but they fundamentally lack parallelism. GPUs, on the other hand, trade away some of that flexibility, and frankly, they eat up a ton of power just to deliver the massive parallel processing that AI totally craves. And, if you go all the way to customized ASICs, you get the absolute peak performance, but it comes with incredibly high development costs and almost zero flexibility. Moving on to Section 2, CPU versus GPU architectures. So, the crucial takeaway here is that these chips have fundamentally different design philosophies. CPUs are built as low-latency, low-throughput workhorses. They are blindingly fast at tackling sequential, one-step-at-a-time tasks. We're talking more than 10 times faster than a GPU at serial code. But GPUs? They accept a higher latency upfront to achieve this staggering high throughput for parallel jobs. It's kind of like comparing a single, super-fast sports car making individual deliveries to a massive fleet of cargo trucks. The trucks move a bit slower, sure, but they're carrying thousands of packages all at the exact same time. Just look at the physical silicon layout here. The CPU block diagram on the left dedicates massive chunks of its real estate to sophisticated control logic and large cache memory, leaving room for just a few really powerful ALUs, or arithmetic logic units. Now look at the GPU on the right. It practically strips away that complex control and those huge caches and replaces them with just an endless sea of simple, energy-efficient ALUs. It is literally built from the ground up to process data in massive parallel grids. That brings us to Section 3, compute and memory hierarchy. To keep all those processors fed, we need to look at how they handle memory. Notice how the CPU manages latency. It pulls data from the main DRAM up through a very large, complex hierarchy of L3, L2, and L1 caches for every single core. This basically ensures those beefy CPU cores almost never have to sit around waiting for data. The GPU architecture, though, totally different. It relies on a shared L2 cache across its massive grid. So instead of large dedicated caches, it uses a massive number of active threads running simultaneously. If one thread stalls while waiting for memory, the GPU instantly swaps to another thread to hide that latency. All right, Section 4, Amdahl's law and limits. Before we crown the GPU the undisputed king of everything, we have to talk about Amdahl's law. The core principle here dictates that even if a specific part of your system is parallelized to run infinitely fast, the non-parallel, serial part of your program fundamentally caps your total overall speedup. So it begs a really fascinating question. In the real world, exactly how much faster can a massive grid of GPU cores actually make our code? Well, let's look at the actual math. The equation for overall speedup, S, is 1 divided by the serial portion, which is 1 minus p, plus the parallel portion, p, divided by n, the number of processors. This brilliant little formula proves you absolutely cannot get infinite speedup, no matter how many GPU cores you throw at the problem. As n approaches infinity, that p over n fraction basically shrinks to 0. So your maximum theoretical speedup is strictly capped at 1 divided by the serial portion of your code. Think of it like a car assembly line. If a specific step has to be done sequentially, having a billion workers standing around won't make the paint dry any faster, right? The unchangeable, serial parts of your code create a hard brick wall for performance. Let's see how this plays out in Section 5, Real-World AI Performance. To see how a program actually utilizes a GPU in practice, we have to look at its strict execution hierarchy. Individual code threads map directly to individual ALUs or cores. These threads are then grouped into a thread block, which gets executed by a streaming multiprocessor. And finally, all of those blocks form a massive kernel grid that runs on the complete GPU unit itself. Now, when you map that kernel grid execution against complex real-world AI models, things like MobileNet V2 or ResNet 50, which are used for tasks like face mask detection, you start to see just how unbelievably dense these models are. ResNet 50 alone packs in 53 convolutional layers and 53 batch normalization layers. That is a staggering volume of highly parallel math. And frankly, this is exactly where the GPU's dense ALU architecture absolutely shines. And here is the cold, hard proof, quantified in frames per second. Just look at that ResNet 50 row. The Intel Xeon CPU completely bottlenecks on this parallel model, managing only about 7.2 frames per second. But the Tesla T4 GPU, it delivers a drastically higher throughput at over 12.6 frames per second. It perfectly proves the exact architectural advantage we explored earlier. Although it's pretty interesting to note that highly specialized hardware like the AMD Xilinx FPGA just blows both of them out of the water, hitting an incredible 198 frames per second on the exact same model. It perfectly illustrates that trade-off table we saw at the very beginning of this explainer. So to wrap up our explainer today, it's absolutely vital to remember how all these pieces fit together. CPUs are the undisputed kings of sequential logic, but they bottleneck hard when blasted with parallel data. GPUs completely flip that script, leveraging massive ALU grids to prioritize high-throughput AI math. And yeah, while Amdahl's law mathematically caps our speedup based on serial code constraints, the sheer volume of parallel math in modern AI layers makes GPUs the undeniable workhorses of this current generation. But looking at those massive performance jumps from specialized FPGA and ASIC hardware in our benchmarks leaves us with a genuinely fascinating question. As the AI arms race continues to intensify and we really start hitting the limits of power consumption, will the GPU be able to retain its crown? Or are we about to see an entirely new era of ultra-specialized silicon rewrite the rules of architecture and performance all over again? Thanks for joining me on this deep dive. Keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.